We'll make a start again now on the afternoon session. Just at the outset for a few minutes, at last year's conference we had an expressions of interest. About 50 delegates were asking about the credited courses in building information modelling, and we had a lot of direct application calls to the college about that, so we've responded to that. So I'll ask my colleague Jim O'Connor is just going to speak to you a few minutes about a new course in BIM that we're running.
Thanks Martin for that, and I'd like to thank Martin for actually facilitating me, because I gave him very short notice about squeezing me in for this 10-minute slot. As Martin said, last year we had quite a number of it. There was a kind of a BIM focus in many ways at last year's conference, and there was quite a few expressions of interest, in upskilling in the area of BIM. I'm not going to talk about BIM today, but just to give you a quick overview of how we actually responded, to those, to that expression of interest. And I should also say that there have been numerous expressions of interest from other sources, particularly from industry over the last year too. So all of that has, I suppose, spurred us into action in terms of delivering some form of education, for the industry. Now, we have been looking at this whole BIM area for the past while, and we feel that we basically what we have actually designed and planned for the future, I think, will respond reasonably well to demand. As of now, we're the first IT in the country actually to kind of embed BIM in our courses here in GMIT. And right from get-go in 2006, when we established the architecture technology course, we had BIM and BIM studies included in it. BIM modules are now actually being delivered on a number of courses on the main campus, and we're delivering specialist interior elements in Letterfrac, and we're collaborating with Letterfrac in terms of BIM research and so forth. We have postgraduate research is underway, and we have just one student finishing off the studies, at master's level on a BIM project, and additional measures for the integration of BIM, into the programs are ongoing, particularly this year with the programmatic review. So we have some experience in delivering it already, to students. This is we looked at what you call it, the industrial requirements, and listened to feedback from the industry, and really, essentially, in terms of the actual people element of it, industry seems to be okay in terms of the collaboration and so forth. But the software associated with BIM is causing a lot of issues, both for engineering, architectural, and indeed construction people. And a shortage of expertise out there, is actually is obvious. And they also, for industry, of course, everybody is busy that's working at the moment, and they need flexible learning modes, flexible assessment modes, and flexible delivery modes. And they also require recognized certification for any upskilling they do. So we've tried to, meet all those aims, in what we have planned and designed. Just before we get into the actual course, this is some of the work that's currently being done by fourth years here in the actual college at the moment. These two people here, Andy and Ronan, are responsible for these images here. Andy is doing a model of GMIT at the moment, the actual building itself, and on the right here, that's an actual photograph, and this is a kind of a Rivet representation of it, 3D representation of it. And as you walk out the door downstairs, that's a photograph of the staircase, and this is what actually is capable of being actually, undertaken, using the software. These are some more images from Andy's work here of the building that you're in at the moment. I don't look too closely at this. Sorry, I'm going to go too far. What do you call it? it's not quite finished here yet. There's a few panes of glass missing, but Andy promises me they'll go in eventually into the model. This is another building downtown, on the Rodon building down Newton Smith that Ronan is just completing as part of his fourth year work here at GMIT. Now, basically what we're proposing, and very, very quickly to go through it, we're proposing a higher diploma. We're proposing a higher diploma in building information modeling. Now, this is the same. This is a level 8, an honours degree, and the entry requirement for this program is actually level 7. Anybody wishing to undertake these studies here will need a level 7, ordinary degree or higher diploma if they're from the, if they've been out for some time in the workplace. It's modular structure. It will be delivered part-time, probably on Friday and Saturdays here in GMIT, and the assessment mode is continuous assessment. Now, just to go through the actual structure of the program, briefly, all participants on the program will be required to undertake a basic. To be honest, the main demand, from industry is for, I suppose, initially, the actual BIM authoring software like Revit, Revit architecture specifically, and the first module on the course, it's a 12-week module, and it is building Revit architecture fundamentals are the basics, the basics of the actual of Revit architecture. The second module is a more advanced actual training in education in BIM and in Revit architecture. Then we have options beyond that. We have Revit structure, which would really, the participants will be using the BIM, the Revit structural software, and then infrastructure, which is essentially civil 3D and so forth. BIM MEP, or that's Revit MEP, that's mechanical engineering and plumbing, and then there's a module on BIM collaboration, which essentially is using Navisworks and project management software and so forth. Now, to obtain each one of those are in our language is known as a special purpose award. So if anybody were just to complete one module, they're awarded a special purpose award in that particular area. By completing 3 of the modules and a major project, you obtain the higher diploma in BIM. And number 1 is a mandatory project. Number 1 is a mandatory module, sorry, and people can choose 2, 3, 4, or 5 if they're being offered, as part of the whole, as part of the course. But essentially, all people have to undertake are 3 modules, 3 of the 10 credit modules, and the major project to obtain the final award. And basically, that's it. Now, as it stands at the moment, the course hasn't gone through the validation process. It has received a positive response, from the head of the Department School of Engineering and the College in general, but it has not gone through the actual, validation process, and that's about to start, in the next 2 weeks. Where it goes through an internal review and then an external review, and hopefully, it will be actually through that process within, a month to 6 weeks. But it's entirely dependent on that process being successful that it will be offered in September here in GMIT. And that's basically it. It's as simple as that. And if anybody is interested in it, we don't know. We have actually quite a number of expressions of interest from industry and so forth. We don't even know whether we will need to advertise it or not in the future. So just maybe if any of you are interested in further information and being kept informed as to the progress of this actual initiative, you just perhaps you take a note of my email address and or contact me by phone, and I'll keep you fully up to date on on what's happening. Okay, that's it. Do any of you have any questions? Yes.
Is it a year-long course?
I expected it would take a minimum of 2 years to undertake to do the course. It will be run part-time, probably 2 modules per year, one before Christmas, one after Christmas. So I would expect it would take actually 2 years, for at a minimum for the course. It's chiefly aimed at industry, and it's there will be it won't be offered for free. People will have to pay for the course. With regard to fees, nothing has been worked out yet with regard to fees, but I'm sure they'll be similar to other types of offerings, from the institution, this particular space. Anybody else? Yes.
Is there any restriction on the number?
Well, obviously there's an upper limit depending on the lab size in GMIT, but in an intake of kind of 20 people is envisaged, up to 20 people. We wouldn't expect that we'd be able to cater for any more than that at any one time. Sorry, Mary.
Jim, I just think, could you elaborate on just how the project might be done in industry rather than agriculture?
Yes, it's an actual. The project is about approximately 250 hours effort. It can be based on say, particularly it's aimed at industry, and it can be based on, say, some practical project you may or may not be working on within the BIM area. And depending on the type of project it is, there'll be a requirement to write a pretty detailed, technical report on the project, along with producing perhaps a practical outcome also. Yes.
How is the college catering for students who are interested in partaking in it as well at this stage before they is everything not done once it's introduced to, let's say, third and fourth courses, or is there an option to continue on?
Well, you see, the whole area of BIM education is relatively new, and even at the moment, to walk back from this here at the moment, as I mentioned at the outset, within the architecture technology program, we start teaching BIM studies, mainly Revit architecture, in second year of the course, and we expand this into third year and fourth year of the course. Since we have a new program in civil engineering, in level 8 in civil engineering, and that has been, BIM has been part of that offering since it was commenced last year. We're also, this year, we have begun to offer the actual, Revit architecture to QS groups in second year, and this is being expanded into all areas, over the coming year. So, are you a student here?
So I actually have to buy and take second year students to get introduced to it.
Yes. But in many respects, you're lucky to be in GMIT, because if you're not either in Dublin or Waterford or Carlow, you'd actually, I don't know how other colleges are dealing with it on other courses other than on their architecture technology courses, because my understanding is that it's not being delivered at all. So the only thing I can tell you is that we're as resources are tight, within our system at the moment, with cutbacks and so forth, and we're doing our level best to roll all these technologies out to as many students as possible, as quickly as possible. But there are restrictions there, but we're well aware of the need for it.
Sorry, just in relation to the place of GMIT in the role of BIM and as a college for the West of Ireland, the area of BIM, including the roles, how it affects professionals already in the industry and future roles of BIM managers who appear in the UK. In the UK, there are now 2 courses where BIM is at level 9, a master's level, where students who have already got higher degrees can progress on
and putting students through courses looking 3 to 4 years down the line. Is GMIT got any plans of putting these courses on at higher diploma level or software funding is available for students already existing within the facility here who are willing to pay for these courses?
Well, I can tell you with regard to postgraduate studies in BIM, well, we already have actually, other than research masters, with 1 or 2 students, we have no problem to run out of taught masters in BIM. We have identified actually that the need currently is for BIM authoring. There's a requirement within industry to upskill the people in there and new people in BIM authoring skills such as Rivet architecture and Navisworks and so on, and that the higher level is less important, from a need point of view at the moment. They have to start, a lot of architectural practices and civil engineering practices have very little BIM in-house experience as of now. It's not going to be like the AutoCAD transition in the early 80s where people were still using drawing boards and could continually draft by hand while they were learning how to use the software. I think that as the industry now comes out of the recession and the 2016, deadline in the UK for public works contracts being produced on BIM software, I think there's going to be a surge in demand, for expertise and the technical expertise at undergraduate level as opposed to postgraduate level. We have no plans for postgraduate taught courses at the moment because we feel there wouldn't be sufficient demand for that, and I doubt even if we would have the expertise to roll that out within GMIT at the moment. But I think from our research, indeed, I've looked at the Irish situation and indeed the UK situation, and where I think that I believe that, and from responding to from what I hear from industry and so forth, they just need bodies on the ground that can produce the actual work using the current software that's available to them. Yes. Thanks, Alan. Alan is actually, he's just resigned. He was one of the leading people that was driving the whole BIM initiative through the CETA group in Dublin.
Would it be possible for students when like that kind of means that the student finishes that degree and on to that part-time. When he finishes that degree instead of a year of part-time study, that is possible for third-year students to start studying earlier.
I see where you're coming from, and I suspect it would. I could not say yes to that, but I would just, we're breaking down barriers all the time in terms of delivery of programs, but I suspect that whereas you'd be offered, you'd be able to avail of free education if you stayed here on a full-time course. This would not be. This is for fee-paying students only, and I don't think we would erect any barriers to anybody wishing to participate in the course that's prepared to do it. I have to finish now. Thank you very much because Martin wants to go.